We are recording. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Tyler Guest. I've decided to start a podcast, and for those of you who know me and have something cool to talk about, please come over and we can discuss. I'm very new at this, a little nervous, but my first guest is Luke Hachey. He's my roommate, and he's got some interesting stuff to say about diving. That is his thing right now, and he's going to school in September. It is September.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. You're going to school tomorrow.
School starts tomorrow. I know a lot of people are going to school tomorrow. Like most children are going to school tomorrow.
I think the kids started last week.
I'm going to school. School is beginning for me tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say about diving, and just kind of reiterate for me what you've been doing all summer and how much you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your podcast too, because it's a new thing.
That's true.
We'll do a little bit of both.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Put it just like you chuckled when you said guest because it's your last name.
That's it. You never would have guessed that I would have made a podcast.
Whoa, we're all over the place with the wordplay.
So, pun hump day. Yes, Toby's also going to be a special guest on this at times, meaning whenever he feels like barging in.
Yeah, we're on a secure location.
That's right.
So diving.
Yes. You've been doing it a lot this summer. A lot. You've been going to Terrence Bay. You took me out to that quarry earlier in the summer. It's cool, man. Tell me about it.
So I did indeed get my open water scuba diving certification this summer, but mostly what I've been doing, what we'll talk about, is free diving, which is like you hold your breath and you go down and you stay as long as you can, you come up. It's a lot more complicated than that, but it's the gist of it. And so, yeah, I've been having a ton of fun with that.
And I think a lot of people have done a version of what you're talking about in terms of putting a snorkel on their face and, going in the water, at least on the surface.
Yeah, so
what you're doing is kind of more intense because you're going far, far, far down.
Okay, yeah, if you ever snorkeled, for sure, and you're like, oh, what's that? And you want to get closer, that you've free dived, you held your breath and you've dived. So it's just swimming underwater. Yeah. They start calling it free diving when you start to try to hold your breath for longer periods of time. You start to learn about some of the science behind it, such as your mammalian dive reflex. Yeah,
it's more of you're specifically going out to do that, and you're not just putting on a snorkel and going for a swim and checking out some fishies.
Although mostly that's what I do. I just think it's more fun to do when you can also go really deep and stay down for a really long time.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay, so you took the scuba diving course, which was really cool. I was really interested in that and excited about it. Tell me about the scuba diving course and what that entails. I know that your preference is free diving, but for people who are listening to this who want to do it, would you say it's a good thing to do?
So I did it through a PADI certified dive school. So the one I did was Torpedo Rays in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, in Halifax. And so it was like an e-learning. So classroom learning has now been replaced by e-learning, which is great because you can just do it on your couch instead of in some church basement, which is always preferable. And at the beginning of it, they went along for a while, we research our e-learning so that it's effective and we use the most modern science in education. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I did it and I was like, no, good job, guys.
It was well formatted. It was you actually learned.
I at the end, I feel like it was presented in such a way with review and with recap videos and whatnot. It took a long time, mind you, but I feel like I retained way more than I normally would. Anyway, so that got really. Anyways, it's just that takes about 5 to 10 hours, and then you have
5 to 10 of classrooms.
Yeah. Okay. Or whatever.
Or classroom.
And then 2 weekends, I guess. So 4 days of dives, 2 pool days and 2 ocean days.
Yeah, I remember when you did those. So tell me about those.
Pool days, pretty straightforward. You just put everything on. Your buoyancy control device, your scuba tank, your regulator with all the parts of your regulator, which you learn in the e-learning.
So you're kind of familiar with it.
Yeah, you should be. And then it's just it's anybody can sign up. Not everybody goes super prepared, but mostly when people are like, I want to try to breathe underwater, they take it seriously.
And is there something, just to go back for a second, is there a certificate that proves that you went through all the pages and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the classroom,
Yeah, so you had to give them that, the proof of e-learning.
Right.
which you print off or whatever, which is always the most complicated part in 2015 because I don't have a printer. Like everything's on my screen or like so like I printed it at work.
Yeah,
thievery of 5 cents or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so you're familiar with this equipment and you throw it on and then you jump in the pool and you learn to breathe.
Oh, it's really tedious. Well, you kneel down in the shallow end and you put your face down and you breathe for like a minute.
Right,
like,
so they start you from the very, very beginning.
But I mean, it's like trying not to drown. So like it makes sense to do it piece by piece. You know the expression, you got to crawl before you walk?
Yes.
Well, I guess it's kind of like you got to, just have your face in the water and breathe before you can go down 30 feet. And
that makes sense.
But by the end of the day, we were like down 30 feet, actually the pool was really shallow, like 12 feet, and taking off our masks and swimming around blind and stuff. And
really?
Yeah, they're like,
cool.
If things go wrong, you got to know what to do.
You got to know what to do.
And I'm like, that makes total sense.
Yeah, cool. All right, and we were talking about this a little bit yesterday and like the dry run of this, and why scuba diving is a little bit more extensive and getting the right gear and going out to do it. Whereas free diving, you can really just go a lot easier.
So that's why I choose to free dive, because I love looking at underwater land, the world of underwater. That's what I like.
Right. I was going to get to that, what you love about it so much. And
so I just want to be there. So scuba, the obvious benefit is you can be there for a while. There's limits. You learn about decompression limits and time limits and air supply limits, obviously, in your tank. So, but it's a while. It's like 30 minutes. Is like I went for 30 minutes or 45 the longest, and most people go much longer than that.
And it's not as exhausting. It's not as stressing on the lungs, obviously. I would assume.
No, it's just not even exercise, really. If you're a reasonably fit person, you're not going scuba diving to get fit. Like
whenever you've seen someone scuba diving, they're usually just chilling there, flapping there.
And you should, because you're breathing compressed gas through a thing. You don't want to be unless you're like James Bond.
Yeah, swimming away from an explosion at like 30 kilometers.
Freediving, on the other hand, is like the fitter you are, the more fun it's going to be. So there's like the incentive there to like be active and practice your breathing, and so it's just so now like I didn't have a super fit summer. Like I had some wedding parties and drank a lot of beer, ate a lot of food, and had a great summer. It was amazing. But for that reason, my dive trips are a little shorter than they used to be last summer.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. But when we went at the beginning of the summer to the quarry, it wasn't too bad. You were doing pretty.
Oh, I'm still totally happy with how long I can stay underwater.
Okay,
I typically stay underwater for a minute, which means that I'm holding my breath for like a minute, which is not a lot if you're just sitting there. But if you're swimming around and you're being a swimmer or whatever and blowing air into your ears and all that stuff, I'm happy with a minute.
You have to understand that you're going under. I mean, we talked about this yesterday too. What is it? 10 meters is 1 atmosphere of water, which means it's relative to the 20-something kilometers of air that we have in our atmosphere above.
Yeah, I don't know how much distance it is, but whatever it is, that much air is 10 meters of water.
And you're going into the ocean. You're going into so much water and so much stuff. 1 minute is fine. It shouldn't be easy.
And I should say that minute isn't me like coming up and being like, I survived.
Right.
It's like I'm coming up and like, okay, do. Like I have before I've held my breath for 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Like that was
underwater.
No, not underwater.
Okay,
but like just like the static. So you can do a static with your face in the water, or in your bed or whatever.
Okay, right. You're just floating on top of water or laying in your bed.
So a number of things limit how long you can stay underwater. First being your buoyancy. So if you're too floaty, if you're wearing a life jacket, or in my case, if you live in Nova Scotia and the water's cold, you're always wearing a thick wetsuit. Yeah. Except for in August and September, you're usually wearing a 4mm wetsuit at least. Mm-hmm. So you're just like buoyant as hell. So first of all, you got to weight yourself. Right. Second of all, your oxygen, like your lung capacity. So like how much oxygen you have in you. And then how efficiently your body uses that oxygen, and how efficiently you choose to use the oxygen. Yeah. So like if I'm diving under, I'm like going down, gotta grab this rock and kill this crab. I've never done that anyway, because you'd be like, I gotta go up. I'm out of breath because I'm panicking. But if you just relax, take a deep belly breath, breathe up for like 2-3 minutes, and then 100% lung capacity, go down. You can just kick.
That must be meditative. Must be nice, kind of calm.
Yeah.
To have to gather that piece to be able to grab that much air. Yeah. And go down.
And I'm kind of a frantic person. I don't know if you noticed by my explanation of the last 2 minutes, but it is very calming and meditative, and that's.
Well, you're going to be charged for assault against sea life.
I've never crushed a crab with a rock, I swear.
For people who are listening, Luke just goes out to the bays and fucks with the fish.
Well, green crabs are not even from around here, man. They're invasive. Apparently, they're tearing shit up. Not too badly, I guess. I talked to a marine biologist who said, "Nah, not that big of a deal." But that was off the record.
No, but it really must be interesting to see all that ocean life, the diversity, and you get Haley to come with you, which is great because she's doing the. Haley, my sister, is doing the oceans education. So
yeah, so the fact that she goes into the ocean frequently is kind of cool. Like it's someone who it's like be in it, feel it, know it. I mean, there's more
work on it too.
There's more to understanding the ocean than just being in it, obviously.
Sure, of course. But to have that first-hand experience is you're doing good, kid.
I'm a guy who can reliably tell you the temperature of water on the coast of Nova Scotia in any given month, pretty much.
You can.
Yeah, like I have a pretty good idea, depending on how stormy it's been lately.
And that's based off sheer experience and what you. Yeah.
First, it was from estimating, and then it was from actually getting a device that can measure water temperature.
And what are your most interesting visuals when you go under? What's your favorite thing to see?
I love.
Have that written down.
I love a big boulder, a big granite Nova Scotia coastline left over from a glacier deposit boulder. Because we get those there, man. Oh.
In the bays.
Yeah, and so like you're just looking at, it's a cove, whatever. Anyway, you go into that cove, just under the surface, there's these big ass boulders, right? Mm-hmm. And I love when those things have just huge strands of kelp, like yellowy brown or kind of not really evergreen, yellowy brown kelp coming off them. Yeah. And it's like Medusa hair. It's crazy. And if you have like a little bit of a wave, and you can swim down underwater in these big boulders, so you're like 10 feet underwater. Mm-hmm. If you can swim in a circle around that boulder and look up at the kelp, just go like, woo!
Oh, right. I've seen your GoPro videos where you're face up.
They don't do it justice, though. They don't do it justice.
Right. Okay, well.
But like just being there in the swirly Medusa hair kelp, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
If I was a better filmer, videographer, whatever,
maybe you could have gotten the right shots. You will eventually, good friend. Now, there's one last thing I want to ask you about diving, and that's what you're going to do now that it is getting cold.
I'm going to dive exactly like I have been until probably the middle of November, and it will not really be any different. Except for it'll be stormier.
You have the wetsuit, right? Yeah, it just won't be as pleasant of a day.
Typically, yeah, we get kind
colder
of stormy.
Getting out.
Yeah. The water temperature is probably at its hottest either last week or now.
Right. Everyone's been saying that. Anyone who's gone in the water in the last
surfers, they know
week or two know, yeah.
So I'm gonna just keep going for a while. I mean, I'm starting school, so I'll be much busier. But I think I'm starting a science degree in oceanography, hopefully. So I'd like to still study the ocean, obviously.
Yeah, man, I think that'll be cool, especially for the first 2 months while you're still going out into the water and you're learning about those things specifically. Yeah. Maybe not so specifically, but it's still going to be the topic of choice.
Yeah, so I'm really, really excited to start that, and keep doing it.
And then for December.
Oh, yesterday it was awesome.
Yeah. So December, January, February, and probably March, and then maybe you do your first dive again in April. Is that right?
The first dive that I had in 2015 was January 1st.
Oh yeah,
the water was
the
water was 4 degrees Celsius, and which is like you die in 5 minutes if you're naked kind of temperature.
Right. So there's this little line of material all over your body that's kind of saving, protecting you from drowning.
So actually, that's kind of the origin of how I got into freediving. Is one day I was in Victoria, BC, and Haley was like, "We're gonna go surfing in Tofino," and I was like, "Sweet." And she's like, "We could buy wetsuits to have because we'll have to rent them anyway. We might as well rent. We're gonna use them maybe if we surf back home." So I bought the wetsuit. Never wore a wetsuit before. Okay. Put it on, jumped in the ocean, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm not cold. I can do anything I want."
Oh, so you love that.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Cool. And that was your first time in a wetsuit?
Yeah.
So this is all really new to you. Well,
that was like
year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half. Like a year and a third.
Time flies.
Not long ago at all.
Yeah, no, man.
So yeah, January 1st, I went straight. As soon as I started doing it, that was in April of 2014. I don't think I've ever gone a month without freediving.
Oh, that's great.
And to be fair, I've never freedived below 45 degrees north latitude either. So it's all been cold water.
Yeah. Someday you won't have to suffer that.
Yeah, I want to
go. But you're not suffering at all. You've got a wetsuit.
It's not as good, but I like it enough to keep doing it, and then I'll just really look forward to the times where you have better conditions.
And where do you want to go? Where's your first choice?
First choice would be some freshwater cenotes in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico.
I've been in cenotes in Mexico when I was 9.
Yeah, I've seen a picture of you as a 9-year-old in a cenote, actually.
Oh man, those are fun. And why?
Because freshwater, for one, you're not as floaty, and two, because, well, it's warm anyways. Well, it's kind of warm, so I wouldn't need to wear a wetsuit.
Right.
And just because, I don't know, I've never dived really, really deep into a crazy hole in the ground before.
Yeah. And their parameters are usually small, so it's like a small community.
It's like a little tiki hut. I don't know. That's totally not appropriate.
Well, you need to see. You need to go there. You need to get it done, man. I think that's really, really cool. Keep it up. Keep going, man. Pursue it. I like it. I like it a lot. You dragged me along, and it was
I do that.
so much fun. You can go on Facebook to his profile if you have him on Facebook, or me on Facebook maybe, and check out these turtle videos of us way back from.
Actually, if you go to YouTube and look up Luke Hachey as a channel, you can look at the turtle videos. They're all uploaded to
you hear
YouTube.
that? If you're bored right now, Luke Hachey channel, and just look at his diving videos. Check them out. He's got some cool
there's a
adventures.
couple on there. I kind of stopped editing because my computer's too slow for that. I'm not
But
really
the one of us is on there.
Oh yeah.
That
That
was a
was just
blast.
that's just raw footage. Just like, whoa, a turtle. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
That was in a freshwater gypsum quarry.
Cool. All right, and is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of diving? Anything else you want to say?
No, do you have any more questions?
I think I'm good, man. Did you want to talk about the podcast for a little bit?
Yeah. So we're on a podcast right now.
We're gonna switch roles right now,
Okay.
and you're gonna interview me.
If you don't mind, I'm going to stay where I'm seated, because it's very
That's
difficult
easier.
to navigate in your awesome
It's easier.
studio.
This is a very, very small room, folks.
Hey, it's amazing for what it is right now. It's great.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
So yeah, that's the beginning of this podcast. So I guess
That's it.
we're in your space.
That's it.
This is your
Conversation.
room.
Yep.
And in your home.
Yep.
And
Our home.
yeah, we do live in the same home. For all you people out there, I live down the hall.
I'm just down the hall.
So what we're doing is we're recording video and audio, which is pretty interesting. Because you watch a lot of podcasts on YouTube, which
Yeah.
I've never done. I'm just more of a podcast, iTunes store kind of podcast guy.
Visual learner.
Earwolf and Radiolab and that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, visual. Do you actually look at them, or is it just audio in the background?
No, usually I'll look at unless I'm working. If I'm working, I'll just throw it on and keep doing my stuff. Like I'll keep writing or whatever I'm doing. But I'll chill out and put the podcast on big screen and just hang out in my room and watch it. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Which I don't know if people do that, but I enjoy it.
I think they must if
Clearly,
it exists. I guess.
It's just more like you're almost like in the room. It's a little bit more interactive.
So they think that, like,
It's just as good if there's audio.
I suppose that maybe perhaps more people would consume this visually rather than
You're getting more.
audio-wise. You're
More
getting a little bit
stimulation.
more, yeah. I guess. Oh, and then that makes my wild gesticulations seem less lame, I guess, because people can see them.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things actually, because like, yeah, if you're ever gonna like explain something with the hands, or you're gonna show something like a picture or whatever happens to be brought up, you know that you can do it visually and then explain it to people who are listening to it, just like on the treadmill or on the way to work.
So what I'm doing is I'm drinking a mug with a skunk on it, made by a woman whose last name is Arundo.
Yes,
And,
it's got watermelon spritzer in it.
She was a former Nova Scotian potteryist, also known as a potter, and she moved to BC.
Well, thank you for describing your cup.
This broadcast brought to you by Skunk Mug.
Skunk Mug and Clear Cup. Cool. Well, yeah, anyway, to get to the topic of the podcast, I'm excited to be able to just sit here and talk to people. It's really weird to be able to get used to, like, knowing that you're being recorded and have a conversation. So, like, you know, this conversation has been fairly natural, and I really enjoyed it. And I think people get more comfortable once they start talking. I think, like, once you start having a conversation and your brain is focused on that, it's much easier to forget about the fact that you're being recorded.
Yeah, I'd be interested to watch the first 2 minutes of what we're doing right now, because I bet you anything, our entire posture and facial expressions and tone are completely different.
Sure.
Because I for sure felt like what you're talking about, getting into a groove.
Yeah.
And maybe that means that this is not something anyone will ever see because this is a dry run or.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe someone will turn it on and the first 2 minutes will just be bullshit to them and they'll turn it right off. But who knows, man? I don't really care. It's not about getting views. By the way, this isn't a dry run. We did a bit of a practice run yesterday, and I actually am going to publish this and let people watch it.
No, that's why I understood. Yeah,
Okay.
it's sort of a hypothetical.
Cool. Well, either way, it's I lost my train of thought. But, oh, right. It's not important whether or not people are watching. It's just the fact that conversations are more engaged when you're actually sitting down and focusing on it. Exactly.
Yeah,
like, me and you talking right now,
I'm not on my phone, or like you're not on your phone.
That's right. Dude, that's the biggest thing right now.
Yeah.
I can have a conversation with someone without them pulling out their phone because they know that they're live.
And I mean, I don't do that. Like, I used to do that. Like, we're roommates. Like, of course, I'm like
everyone's a little guilty of it. It's totally fine. But
it's not like everybody's at restaurants with their phones. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe some people are like that.
Some people are like that, man. You've seen it. You've seen it out in public when people are on their phones in the middle of a social situation. I think everyone's seen it. Hopefully,
is it entirely bad, or is it like a way for more? I don't know if introverted is the right descriptor. I'm not really big. I don't really understand that definition super well. But like more introverted people, it's like, oh, it's nice out for them. Like I don't really want to be engaged socially in this like group of 5 people right now. So I'm gonna like just go on my phone. Relaxes me.
No, I think the disadvantages far outweigh the advantages of being able to escape. I think the fact that you are disengaging yourself from the world, and the fact that you're going to miss out on a lot more.
I wonder where you make that distinction though. Like, is someone watching this right now disengaged from the world because they should be paying attention to the man next to them on the bus?
Right.
Because maybe there's something meaningful with engaging as just a person on a bus.
Well, I guess what I'm saying more so is like when you're with people. That's what this like.
Oh, guy on a bus isn't people now?
When you're with someone specific, and
yeah,
you're actually having, you're trying to have a conversation, or dude, I've been in the middle of conversations with people, and they pulled out their phone and been like, yeah. Apparently it's acceptable, and I've done it. I've definitely done that. I have to say, like, I'm guilty of it, but either way, I think it's cool to have a podcast because we can sit down and be like, let's just get off our phones, let's pick a topic, let's just talk about it, let's talk about something you love, because you love it, and you definitely want to talk about it, and you want other people to hear it.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, you talk about it, and you're like, oh, I guess I didn't know if I would talk about it like that, or like, wow, I missed a thing.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm like thinking here, talking like everyone just watched or listened to, and I'm like, oh, I missed all these things, and why did I talk about that? And you know what? Who cares?
No, yeah, that's like, the whole thing. It happens. Let the cards fall as they may.
I think that's the liberating thing about this particular format or art form or whatever you want to call podcasting, which is like you think is not all that different from like radio broadcast, which has been around for a really long time.
That's right.
But it does have tonal differences, I think. Like you never turn on like even talk radio.
Yeah, this is.
Well, I get talk radio. Maybe talk radio is.
That is. I don't know the exact definition of podcast, but I think the difference would be that podcasts are kind of more specific. No, man, I think talk radio is the same thing as a podcast.
Yeah, I guess I don't.
I
listen to a lot of like public radio, but I don't know if. I mean, there's like news programs on that and like science programs.
This is like a podcast show.
Programs,
This is my podcast show. And the other thing is it's liberating. Maybe that's the distinction, is the fact that like I can do a podcast and I'm not on the radio. I don't have that background, but I'm here with the microphone and you and this technology to be able to publish it and broadcast it. And it's a podcast, so you're actually able to cast it independently.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Maybe.
And then when you take programming that was. Yeah, I'm going to look more into this definitional thing.
Totally.
It's interesting. Because there's a big difference between what we're doing, which is a lot of podcasts, and some really big ones, too. Like a lot of the Paul F. Tompkins Earwolf podcast, a lot of the Joe Rogan podcasts.
Highly produced, sure.
A lot of it's like this format, interview, more structure, whatever. But then there's like stuff that's a podcast that's like totally like way more, I don't want to say put together, but like produced. So like stuff like Radio Lab, stuff
like... profitable.
No, it's not problem. No, it's like put together totally differently. So it's non-conversational. It's like sound edited. There's like effects. There's music.
Okay, right.
It's more. It's like watching a documentary, except you're listening to one.
Right. Yeah.
So there's that. Those are podcasts too.
Yeah.
But maybe because I guess This American Life originated on Chicago Public Radio.
Right. I actually don't. I haven't expanded my podcast experience enough. Like you mentioned, I listened to and watched Joe Rogan's podcast, and that's actually what got me into this entire thing. Who hasn't checked out Joe Rogan's podcast? Check it out right now. Go on YouTube and type in the Joe Rogan Experience. It's incredible. But that's definitely more conversible. It's like 2 hours, 3 hours of just conversation, and like
it's long.
Yeah, it's highly produced, but it's not. There's no breaks in between. I remember we did this back in the winter, and it was like just like what you're talking about. We had the intro. I engineered it so that it was like song in between, like new music, a little skit. That was fun, but it's totally different.
Yeah, maybe that's
Totally.
Maybe that's what people are looking for sometimes, and maybe they're looking for this kind of thing other times. I think there's like you say, you didn't expand your podcast field or whatever. I think you and I just listen to different styles of podcasts, maybe even structurally, not just content wise.
Right.
Because like the conversational kind like this, I only started getting into with Spontaneation, which is Paul F. Tompkins' improv podcast.
Okay.
And that is conversational just by virtue of it being improvised. So you're not like, it's only possible to be conversational.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's something new. So doing one without having the backdrop of that you do, have like watching a ton of them is really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be a challenge in a lot of different ways, but I'm looking at it as fun. Like, it's definitely a fun thing to do, and it's a reason to get
I'm
people
having a lot
in
of
here.
fun right now.
Me too, man. Me too. It's a reason to get people in here, and it's good practice to talk and socialize.
To see people, like, how have
see
you
people,
been?
man.
It's like, I want to know.
That's it, right?
And I want to
come in for this podcast and come hang out with me and have a conversation and have some fun.
Cool stuff. And you don't have to have just one person too. You could have like a group of people sometimes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking like even this weekend, next weekend, anytime I'm not working the next day, just bring a six-pack in and have some fun, just relax.
What? Just take this microphone and this computer and put it on the kitchen table we have in the middle of the living room.
Kitchen party podcasts.
Yeah.
We're onto something here. We
That
should
sounds
probably
like
cut
fun.
the recording and brainstorm.
Well, I don't know. Do we have 3 hours? I think we do. You have a ton of hard drive space on your lap. Or no?
Yeah, I do have a little bit more time now. I guess we can extend this a little bit, but this will work into the segue of me researching podcasts and how to put it together, because I wanted to have a little bit of research into it, which I didn't. I looked at like one page and then stopped, because I do want to do this on my own. Learn by doing. But this guy said 22 minutes is the ideal time for a podcast.
Well, that's the length of your common like half-hour comedy on television.
It's the point of focus and the attention that most people have for 22 minutes. They'll usually lose focus after that. I mean, I guess that's not a reason to stop early, and I think like probably the podcast should just end when we're both mutually wanting it to end. Like when we run out of things to say, we run out of things to say.
That could be like our thing. But I don't know if like it's possible to run out of things to say, man. I don't know. I say things all the time.
Too talkative talks. Yeah. I think I'm going to call this podcast the Talkative Podcast. We were just talking about that.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself a talkative person?
Yeah. That's why I try to make that my alias when I do music. And, well, I used to do hip-hop and still kind of do. And Talkative was the name because it's something that I incessantly do.
Yeah, I think I do that too, man. It's interesting. I've been thinking the last, 2 years, never felt before personal. For the last 2 years, I never felt, self-conscious about being talkative, but then now I totally am. Now,
really?
Especially, now I'm like, oh no, am I blabbing? And I think most of the time I'm thinking that is because I am. So I'm not. So I'm trying to be like, it's a good thing that you're nervous and you don't feel good about it because you are talking too much. Yeah. So it's like changing you. I don't know.
Sure. I think it's not like you just need to be mindful, and maybe after a while that will be the case. Instead of being nervous about it, you just, okay, I'm blabbing too much because that's my character, and
so I'll just try to be quiet or whatever.
Yeah, and doing that enough will cause you to not be as talkative. But I like my character. I mean, I think I've got it toned down. Of course, there's always some times in my life where I'm like, oh my god, I just ranted for so long.
Everybody goofs.
Some
people goof and get drunk and punch people.
So don't try to be something you're not, unless you're that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Unless you're that, then don't try to be something you're not.
There's cool fighting. I don't know what accent that is.
I don't know if anybody actually goes out with the intent to fight, but when they get drunk, that's when they're like, let's find someone to smash. Let's find some trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to psychoanalyze people. I don't want to.
We don't know their story.
I don't know their story. Yeah. Exactly.
Those people out there fighting each other. Super Smash Brothers, guys. Just play Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, why? These aren't the video games enough? Aren't those enough to just take your anger out on? Why do you have to bring it into the real world?
Yeah, that's funny because a lot of people are like, in the 90s when the rating system came out and stuff, and they're like, kids are shooting up schools because they're playing violent video games. That's still going on. That's still a conversation. Yeah. And what you basically said was just like, hey, violent people, we gave you the game so you could be violent somewhere else. Come on, hold up your end of the bargain. It's like the opposite argument. I don't think either is particularly correct 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a silly topic and a controversial topic. But it's something to think about. And now I'm thinking about something else to talk about.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, we don't need to talk about
Well,
fun.
I do want to briefly bring up the iPhone that we were just talking about before this started, and the new reveal.
Oh yeah,
'Cause I didn't know
that's
that they were
today.
doing that
Today's
today.
September 9th, 2015.
September 9th, 2015, I think. I have a warped perception on that stuff. When you told me that there was a new iPhone,
Well, it's not out yet.
I got giddy, man. When you
They
said
do
that
it
they
every
announced
September,
it,
man.
I got giddy.
They
That
do it every
shit's-
September.
That shit's cool, man. They have the new iPhone out. What does it do? So you explained to me this 3D thing or whatever.
Well, because Apple is like, so they're cool in the way that like they define what cool is. So
Yeah,
they're obviously
that's
cool.
it.
Jesus.
It must be if that's
So
if that's what they say.
And I like to get into the hype. I don't really like. I have an iPhone and I have it 5, so it's like 3 years old. So I'm not gonna like buy the new one every year, but it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
cool. They're
Because you get to a point, like you have the 3,
They're
and you're like,
amazing.
okay, that phone could be better. You get the 4, and you're like, okay, it could still be better. I'm at the 5 too, and I'm like, all right, I think that's fine for me. Like this is good. I have everything I need on this. I can talk to you and ask you questions on
Yeah.
Google. I can take good pictures. I get everything except for putting my finger on it to unlock it, and apparently now seeing 3D
Nah, it's
impressions
force touch or 3D
force
touch.
touch.
So the thing that like all you just said, I totally understand and agree with. Oh, like I'm content with this or whatever. The cool thing, and the reason I get excited for these kind of events is that there's people out there who are just not content, or they're not content, but just like they're like, all right, what can we also make people be so super happy with?
Yeah.
Like maybe right now you're like, oh wow, I don't really need the finger touch thing, and that's fine. But like maybe for somebody, they're like, oh yeah, finger touch.
Yeah.
Like oh finally.
But is that such a good thing that they're like that happy about that? I mean, shouldn't they be happy
Okay,
about
maybe
other
no one's
stuff?
that excited about that thing, but maybe someone like maybe the GPS thing. Like for me, yeah, I love maps. I have a visual representation in terms of a map of everywhere I've ever gone. Because I haven't traveled super a lot, but when I did, I had modern mapping technology, GPS, all that stuff with me. So I always know where I am cartographically. I'm not like some amazing don't get lost in the woods guy or anything, but like I know where like roads are. Like I have this picture in my mind of where we are right now, because I live here. But like what it looks like on a map.
I know what you mean. I understand. Like if you're on Google Images right now and you looked at the grid, sorry, not Google Images.
I could
Google,
point us out exactly.
Google Satellite. Yeah, you could
Yeah.
point it out.
And that's just because I love maps. So that like that thing on there, like the fact that it's not just a phone and a texting machine, but it's like, oh my god, the world's most interactive map. That's the thing for me that I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
well,
if they-
that's huge.
So if
That
they
was
make a new
huge
thing that's even more in the way of that being cool, holy shit.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess what I was thinking about are like the trivial things, the trivial idiosyncrasies that they have that they try to make like a huge deal, like the fingerprint scan or something like that. But I agree that, like, I don't know the ratio, maybe like 1 in 5 things that they end up developing with the phone are actually going to be like, you know, truthfully and genuinely convenient and like beneficial to humankind.
Yeah, like the map thing I'm talking about, my friend Owen the other day was like, I don't know where we are right now. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, I would always just kind of know because I would look before and I would know.
Yeah.
But he just like followed me there in his car and he just didn't really care where he was on
Yeah.
the map, which is fine. Like, no, maybe no one does.
I don't think
Do you?
think I do either.
No, yeah, no one
I mean,
does.
like,
I
if
just
you
really
ask me
love
to-
that. I'm just like, oh, yes, thank you.
If you ask me to think about that, like where we are right now on Swain Street, I can think about where we are in terms of a map for sure. But like I don't think about that when I'm driving or like when I'm trying to find somewhere. Even when I'm using Google Maps, I don't really think about the wide view of things, like the big picture. I'm just like, okay, just turn on the road that it fucking says me to turn on, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting because
That's
that's
the lazy way out.
You know what's funny is when I play Grand Theft Auto on the Xbox, which I've been known to do, and so have you.
Yep.
When I'm driving around the
Guilty.
city, I don't look at the guy driving. I don't look at the car.
That's right.
I look at the little map in the
And I
corner.
think a lot of people do that, yeah, for sure. That's way smarter to do because you see the big picture of things. I'm like a little kid. I'm like looking at like the street signs. I'm like, oh, there's a hooker on the street over there. Hi, driving by. I'm not really paying attention.
Hello, I'm in an oppressive system.
I have an M84,
Oh,
and I'm
geez.
gonna shoot you in the face.
This is Grand Theft Auto World. It's much.
Grand Theft Auto world.
But I don't live in
dangerous
that world.
talks. Yeah, dangerous talks. That's fun though. It's addictive. When you got it, I didn't stop playing.
You know why I wanted to get that game and play it, and it totally worked. Is it was the end of March. We had a crazy oppressive winter, and I wanted to run around outside in the woods. So I bought a simulator to do that, and that's mostly what I did in Grand Theft Auto was get dirt bikes and ride around the woods.
Yeah, that was so much, dude. I caught on to the exact same thing. I literally would spawn dirt bikes with the Google Cheats and just cruise around in the mountains at sunset.
And then, you know what happened? And then the sun came out in May, and then we stopped playing Grand Theft Auto.
That's so true.
Because
we've
we've been outside for months.
I know, and it's going to be like that for another couple months, and then we're going to end up shooting hookers in the face and driving around on motorbikes again.
Well, give or take a couple of those options, yeah.
Hey, everybody's guilty of running people over in Grand Theft Auto.
It's meant to do that. Although John Green,
shenanigans.
you know, author and generally awesome guy, John Green.
John Green.
Like my biggest role model. He's an author, he is an internet educator, he is a producer of new media.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
He's a movie producer now, probably.
John
anyway,
Green. Okay.
Crash Course, you ever watch those?
Yeah, I've
He's
heard
the host.
Okay.
Anyway, you ever hear The Fault in Our Stars, that movie?
Yep.
Kids of Cancer? He wrote that.
He wrote
book.
that, okay.
Yeah, anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, right. He has a YouTube channel, and obviously several. And on one of them, John Green plays Grand Theft Auto with his morals, and so he doesn't do anything immoral. And I only watched like 10 minutes of the first episode.
Stopping at red lights.
Because, yeah, like so he can't, I'm assuming he can't do anything, but...
Yeah, getting out of the car to go do his banking.
Yeah.
Walks out and...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's boring.
Is it though? I think it, like, yeah, maybe.
Well, that's Sims, and that's like those things. It's just regular shit.
Like, imagine if, like, in The Sims, like, you could just, like, you know, buy a gun and, like, go around your neighborhood.
Every now and then, there's like a whisper.
Way more disturbing.
There's a whisper from the speaker that says you want to do something bad, and you go do it.
It's the same thing.
Good that we don't have that.
In Grand Theft Auto, you take a shotgun and you go around your houses next to you and you murder people, and you're like, that's horrible. Like, it is. Like, people watching this right now, people who don't play video games, a number of them be like, that's horrible.
Sure.
I'll give it to you that if you could play The Sims and just be like, oh, build a house and, like, meet your neighbors and, like, get a job and build a pool,
it
would be way worse.
If you were not a LA gangster
or
running around.
Or not, that's not the precedent. You'd spend, like, 10 hours playing The Sims, and then you, like, while you're on the internet in The Sims one day, and you, like, buy a gun, and it's like your house, and you go, like, a bazooka in your neighbor's garage, and it's like, bro!
You establish your friendship with the neighbors. You have, like, dinner with them and shit. Like, the whole thing's simulated, and then out of nowhere you just lose it.
That's way darker.
Yeah, that's way darker.
Yeah. I hope no one's ever had that thought before and developed into a video game. I don't know why I just had that thought.
I think there's something similar that I heard of recently that, like, I'm sure if any gamers are listening know about. There's just, I think it's called, like, Massacre or something, where there's just a person who just runs around and you just kill people.
So weird. Does that, like, scratch the itch of, like, the people who want to shoot up places?
That's what's so concerning about it. I mean, like, it's like the most gory game. Apparently, the controversy over it was huge. I don't know, but that's the premise. You see how violent you can be, and you just run around. That's not dark, man.
Yeah, but it's not real violent. But what does it lead to? No one knows.
Well, man, it leads to some serious shit. Think about that. You're sitting on a couch for hours on end, shooting people in the face. Not shooting people in the face in real life, but you're still your visual representation. It's like a character in a movie or something. Though they don't actually exist, they do exist in a sense. There is a substance to that character. So there must be a substance.
In your imagination.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that has to correlate with everyday life somehow. She's doing that all day.
I kind of get...
Like, I don't know how.
It doesn't exist, and it's just, ones and zeros.
Yeah.
But because it can only exist to be more than that with an emotional and contextual representation through human perception, because it needs that to exist, then it can't not taint you with doing something real from it.
Right. It's like, I mean, it's the whole simulation theory. It's something that could be just as real as life itself, but isn't. And, have you heard of simulation theory?
No.
This is something really, really interesting. They say with all of the Oculus Rift, and whatever else they have going, HoloLens, and all the simulation games that they have, and the virtual technology, the virtual reality technology, they say where that's going right now, in 100 years, 1,000 years, eventually, pretty soon, they're going to be able to develop something that immerses you into this reality, and it is just, you can feel the wind. It is just as real as life itself.
Matrix, yeah.
Yeah, the Matrix. It's that sort of theory. So, if that's the case, that it's almost inevitable that is going to be the case. If that's going to be the situation eventually, who's to say we're not already doing that right now? Who's to say we're not right now,
well,
living
that's the
something
Matrix
that is
again.
exactly.
It's the future, but it's
So that's the
1999,
simulation theory. It's really there's a lot of people who believe in it, and I think it's something that's definitely has some ground to it.
Well, I mean,
where
that's
we're
the case,
heading
this is
and
incredibly detailed simulation. So big ups on those guys.
well, yeah, but I mean, like I think if you really look into it and you carry it out, I think the next step in VR right now is going to be like bio technology, implants, something like that, something that allows the brain to activate the exact whatever it is inside
they've
the
got
head
that for, like,
activates
amputees
the
now,
emotions.
kind of.
Yeah, sort of, exactly, sort of like that.
Cybernetics, I guess.
So
you
that's
call that?
in 1,000 years. Where's that going to be if we don't destroy ourselves and we stay alive?
Yeah.
Like what? How far can they get? I think they can get as far as reality itself. So who's to say that's not actually happening right now?
Well, I mean,
I took the blue pill.
I've always been really interested in the transcendent sort of like thought of the future of humanity. I don't like picture like a bunch of Homo sapiens are kicking around in the year like 10 million, on like hover cars and stuff. I picture like some sort of collective consciousness in like a giant future like statue in the middle of the Sahara Desert or something. Like I don't like
Wow,
just
that's
like
going. You got sci-fi on me at the end there.
where it's just like some like super consciousness, like where it's basically like the internet. Everyone puts their brain in it,
Yeah.
and then it like turns Earth into a spaceship.
Have you
and
seen Lucy?
No.
Lucy's kind of like that with Scarlett Johansson, where she takes the drugs and she gets smarter and smarter and smarter.
Oh, and she transcends. Yeah,
She
it's the same thing with
transcends.
her, Scarlett Johansson, and that is the same. Really, that's really funny.
Yeah, she has 2 movies
Scarlett
that are
Johansson's always transcendental, isn't she?
smart,
More ways than
smart
one.
woman.
Yeah. So I sort of got into that from a video game I played called Alpha Centauri, which is a sort of a Civilization 4X clone kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it's Sid Meier, it's not a clone. Anyway, it's basically like one of the ways to win the game was to like put your consciousness in the planet, which had this giant fungus network, and it would like made you like a super transcendent being kind of thing.
Weird. Yeah, I definitely agree with you in terms of evolution and where we would be heading. Like, I also don't want to think that we would be doing the same bullshit that we're doing right now in society and like aspiring to do the same shitty things that we've been doing. I believe that what needs to change isn't the technology. It's not that we can get to work on a hoverboard in 1,000 years. It's that we can understand the truth of life a little bit more. I know that sounds a lot deeper than it should be, but it's
Much better way of thinking about it for sure.
yeah, because if that's the case, if what you want and expect to happen is going to happen, that's what we have to do. We have to be able to understand what
when we're like
stuck
one in love and consciousness, then like we're people divided right now.
it's a and it's a
You
collective.
can't be a
thing.
collective with conflict.
That's right.
So, and then people would even think a collective, they would conflict about that because it'd be like individuality, which is a problem too.
It's
And
a
I
wicked
don't want
problem.
to be part of a collective consciousness or anything. I'm just saying, I think that's how it's going to end up.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, things are bad, but there's a lot of good stuff. I think it'd be cool if we like kept all the cool stuff from the past couple thousand years, like poetry and art.
Oh
and stuff.
yeah, of course there's good in the
Masonry,
world.
good rock, good stone walls,
Good honest work.
good pastures, good sheep fields. All those things in the
The
world.
beauty in life needs to stay. That's what's awesome about life. And if you can understand that, like the power of the awesomeness of life, then you're doing good and you're probably living life well. But if you get caught up in the negativity that happens in life and the things that are wrong in the world, then obviously you're not going to be enjoying your life as well. You can't dwell on those kind of things.
And now there are, I would say absolutely everyone in the world, except for like 200,000 rich guys, have it worse off than you and I do.
Yeah.
Like we're cis, white, straight men in Canada.
Yeah.
So, in the cool part of Canada too.
Yeah.
So everything's fine for us. So it's I guess
Fine.
That's why we can even think about this sort of like
Jeez, yeah.
because a lot of people are just like, holy shit, my house has exploded.
Yeah, that makes me feel kind of like patronizing and condescending right now because I don't know enough about this to like be able to say, well, if you just like forget about the bad stuff in the world, you're gonna live a good life. Like it's not that easy.
But I don't think you said that. I think you said like appreciate. I think you weren't. I don't think if you said it in a certain way would insult somebody with a worse state of life than you. I'm just saying, be aware of it.
Yeah, I want to be humble in the way that I understand that. You're right. We need to be happy about where we were born, and that was total circumstance, and we take that for granted every day. That we were just born here.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine just getting dealt the shittiest hand?
That's why nationalism and national pride is a dangerous and stupid thing. Because, like, saying, like, oh, yeah, Canada's great, best country in the world. Like, why? Because you're born there? You ever hear that?
Oh, yeah, right, nationalist pride,
like,
yeah.
did you
Being
even
proud of your
look?
country. You did nothing to achieve
Like,
that.
I love this country for a lot of reasons. I think, because I've, like, learned a lot, but not everything, I think it's a pretty great country compared to, like, the options. But, I mean, you can't just say that and not, like, look into it.
Yeah.
And having that national pride and be like, I'm obviously thinking about the Syrian and other countries' refugee crisis and migrant issues right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, people being like, oh, we need to look after ourselves. Like, why? Because you were born... Like, it's not like...
Yeah.
There's no such thing as... There shouldn't be such thing as that much national pride. It's just a construct.
Oh, it's
a
so
Westphalian
strange.
nation state.
Yeah, there's the whole... I mean, if you ask many astronauts who go up into space, they have the unity theory or whatever it's called, where they go up and they understand that there's no borders on the planet.
Oh.
They understand it's all just land on this ball of gas. It's or of rock. It's whatever it is. It's like there's
that's
no.
a beautiful thought.
Yeah, I don't remember who the first person who said that was, but he said, I realized what we've been doing all this time is absolutely absurd. We've drawn lines in the land where there aren't any lines, and these are the only people on the planet. These are the only conscious brains that have been able to understand that because they see it all, literally with their eyes looking down at it, and they're like, "There's no what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing?
Oh man."
Why have we put so much of our effort into doing that when we could put our effort into things that actually make us happy? And there's obviously, this is a wicked problem. You could just go on and on and on.
To give ourselves credit, it's only been about 500 years of like globalization, and not even.
Yeah, we're
like
early,
in terms of
man,
like
we're
what
young.
we consider now to be globalization. It's been like
100 years.
Yeah, so like
100
it's
years,
kind of
one
a new
lifetime.
thing.
One lifetime.
Yeah.
You can wrap your head around that. I mean,
It's kind of a new thing, and you know,
I think it's interesting to be in this time though. To be in the time where we're like, okay, we've got this thing.
yeah,
And
some
like,
people
we've
have
got some
even seen it.
establishment. Some people have seen it. What do we do? Like, yeah, some people have even seen what we've been off of this thing. We've got this thing, and we've been off of it, and we've explored everything. We have
Not everything at the bottom of the ocean. That's what I want to
okay,
do.
fair. We haven't explored everything, but we know what we're on. We know the science of what's going on, and we know. It's like we know 100 years worth of practice
Of globalization.
Of
yeah.
globalization, sorry.
I mean, give or take some tribes and some people that don't talk to us and blah blah.
Yeah. I guess I'm speaking about us. But to be in that time where it's like for the rest of your life, we're going to be figuring shit out. For the rest of everybody's life, for always we'll be figuring shit out. But like right now, like there will always be these things that come up that it's like, oh shit, we've never dealt with that before. Now we have to deal with that. Like phones, boom, right here. Like this is 20 years. Not even, this is 5 years, but like phones, like that whole concept of like, what do we do now that we have these things that are changing our life in so many ways?
And how many things have changed our lives before that? And there's a big history of tools and all that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just another one, man.
So some people would argue that like you can never solve problems with technology because you always create new problems with new technology.
Right.
But
that's it, man. That's life. That's the dance of life, to be able to like have these problems and work around them and figure out what works and figure out what doesn't, and that's it. It's the dance, man.
Cool.
Enjoy it.
Well, talking about it's a good way to get into that. What kind of problems do you want to solve and stuff?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, like right now, I'm definitely on like a personal quest to try to figure out like how to master my mind. So I mean, like,
solve
and I think
your own
that's
problems
something.
first.
Solve my own problems before I can get into anybody else's. But I think that's like.
That's a good step.
Yeah, but I think that in itself is like one of the big problems, especially with Western culture, more especially with Western culture, is like that's their biggest thing to deal with, is like their own heads. I think a lot of people have so many boundaries and limits because they haven't figured out the full potentiality of their consciousness.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really learn how to just
be content,
breathe and just
mindful,
chill and be mindful, then you can explore whatever you want. Like whatever you want. I know that's starting to sound like motivational and cheesy, but like it's true. Like what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to figure out the inner workings of the mind so that I can fully expand my potential. And I think everybody should do that in the world.
Everyone should be on a path of development, whatever they want that to be.
Yeah, for sure.
I think learning and growth is the secret to happiness.
Absolutely.
Because you're working towards something. I found myself kind of stagnated and not really happy, and so what I decided to do was to take a giant educational leap, a huge investment into something that's going to be very challenging when I start. And I've been putting off starting because, well, not putting it off because first day classes is tomorrow. I didn't really put it off because it hasn't started yet. But yeah, like I think it's gonna. I think going into the fall, into the summer, it's going to make me like, getting up, doing stuff, development, learning new things.
Yeah.
Getting there, walking back and forth, eating a healthy lunch, like all that sort of
I didn't
lifestyle stuff.
I didn't really understand any of this stuff right up until this past year. Like 2015 has been a crazy year for me because I'm just like obviously like redeveloping and like trying to figure out what works and what doesn't and like what to do and. I think that, like you said, man, development is like the most important. What else is there to do then? Like develop your mind, and whatever, and develop your body. That's all you have.
There's so many other things to do, and so many of them are horrible. Like, well, you can rather than develop your mind, you can shit all over it. Well, how do you do that? Well, if you go into a black painted room and you sit on the ground in some sawdust and you watch Maury Povich for 24 straight hours, that would do terrible things to your brain.
And there's so many fucking obstacles, man. Like. So many things that you can do to stunt your growth and just forget it, and they're addictive for some reason.
And
our
there's
brain
ones that
doesn't
you really
gravitate.
like too.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people like to drink too much. A lot of people like to smoke too much. A lot of people like to
Watch too
exercise
much
too little.
Netflix.
I mean,
There's so many guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
But
you gotta find a pleasure that excites you more, I guess.
That's the hardest part about it is like you're surrounded from a very young age in this consumerist age and like things that are going to stunt your growth and aren't really going to be ideal for you to progress towards. Yeah, and you have to figure out when you get to a certain age, like what's the best thing to gravitate towards? Like what can I figure out here in order to develop further? And like how can I get into that way of thinking of wanting to develop myself? Because I think a lot of people just are so distracted from such a young age.
I think getting to the step where you're like thinking about it like you just articulated, like I'm going to make some choices and articulate them and think about it and stuff, like maybe just getting to that point is what takes a long time. Like did you have that thought when you were 13? I mean, people are like, what do I want to be when I grow up? But I think the reason that I've been discontent with my own ambition in the past and stuff is because I didn't really seriously ever ask those questions. And maybe people who do ask those questions at a young and developing age are into what they like to do.
Yeah, I definitely think the earlier you do ask it, the better off you'll be, because then you'll be able to understand.
You ask it every day.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't, and if you're 25 years old and you still feel like you don't have a fucking clue, that's fine. That's fine. Like
because you can always start.
Yeah, exactly. You can always start. There's nothing wrong with not having gotten it until later in life. Shit, I can't even say. I don't know what there is to get. Like, you just live your life. But now I'm getting a little bit muddled. So, I think
heady stuff.
Heavy stuff, man. I don't know. What a great podcast.
It's fun.
Started with diving and ended on the concepts of life and development.
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, yes, I find conversation, if it goes on long enough, gets to that kind of point because
sure, it can shapeshift into whatever.
That's another nice thing about conversation. It brings out things that you never think to yourself. You never get into it enough with your own thoughts.
I think most thoughts are just bits and ends and pieces of consciousness that come into your head. Like, just subconscious thought. You're never able to carry out a thought, and when you are, it's like it's great.
Maybe that's why people write books and not like talk books. Wow.
Hang on, I'm onto something here.
Genius over here.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because you can like keep track.
Obviously.
Jesus.
But there are also improvisers.
Like myself. Who just
like
ramble
yourself.
On. Yeah, just, September 16th, the Bus Stop Theater.
Here come the promotions. End of the podcast.
8 p.m. Doors open.
September 16th.
Come a couple minutes early, grab a drink. You can bring the drink into the theater. You can get drunk while you watch. That's amazing.
So much fun.
All the money, goes toward the bar money goes towards the Bus Stop Theater Collective. I think you should totally support because it's awesome. Fantastic. And it's Stephanie Hunter's birthday, so we're having an improv show that involves. Spoiler alert, some cake.
Ooh, ice cream cake, I hope.
It's pretty hot in there, usually with the stage
lights.
Oh,
good lord, that's right. The Bus Stop Theater, September 16th, that's what?
Wednesday. That's next
Wednesday.
Next
Wednesday.
1 day from... No, 1 week from today.
1 week from today. Alright, so 1 week from today, September 16th, Bus Stop Theater, Make 'em Up's Improv. And also, I wanted to bring back, we were talking about refugees in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give a shout out to a GoFundMe page that I just saw today. They're trying to open up. I don't really know how this works at all, but they're trying to open up basically areas and hubbards for refugees to live. Said something about like sponsorship or something and
Cool,
being able to actually sponsor families and stuff.
Yeah, get them over here.
Yeah, get them over here. Get them over here, guys. Go on the site and try to donate what you can. And if you can't, just check it out and just expand your awareness.
Yeah, just speaking of John Green earlier, he put up a vlog of a pretty good explanation of this sort of situation, and he always has a very strong humanist perspective philosophically.
So it's not so dry, maybe.
That's not exactly what I meant, but it's not dry. It's really quick and to the point, and it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So it might be good to understand a little bit, and then go definitely check out that GoFundMe thing.
And what's the website?
YouTube, John Green.
YouTube,
Syria.
John Green. Yeah.
Yeah, John Green, Syria. Those three words, you'll find it if you do that.
Okay, great. And www.slappoet.com, wordpress.com.
www.slappoet.wordpress.com.
Jeez, I wish it was a real domain. I'll have that eventually.
It's still real.
But it's a real website. Check it out. It's just got all my poetry on it, and I'd love for you guys to read some of my words. And I think that pretty much covers it. I think the next podcast I'm going to try and do, I'll get the second roommate in here. I think Haley has a lot to say about a lot of things, and it'll be just as fun. You can join if you want. You can have two people on.
Oh, you should do one with her. Yeah, then the three humans who live here have done one. You get Toby on. He's a dog. He could look silly.
Oh, he would just be great in here.
He's so quiet.
He would just be great. We should go check on him. I want some food. I'm hungry.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. This was a lot of fun.
How long was that?
It was 56 minutes.